Hi, eBrokely students. I'm Ryan Mink. I'm a staff writer for the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you today. I thought I was going to be able to make it, but we had an open media session today at one of the Ravens practices, and I need to be here to watch so I can tell you guys what happened. So, really sorry I couldn't come, but I hope that I can impart some good lessons for you as you pursue your careers. So we're going to start with how I got involved and started with my career. And it really began when I was in high school, and I have an older brother. He's 4 years older than me, and his best friend from high school went to University of Maryland, and he was into radio broadcasting. So his senior year, he got to travel out to the Midwest and cover the men's basketball national championship when the Terps won the national title. And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard of. That I couldn't understand that this was somebody's job. It just seemed like a dream job for me. And so I decided, that English was one of my stronger subjects in school, and so I thought, I want to become a sports journalist. This looks like really fun, So I went to University of Maryland, just like my brother's best friend, and went into the journalism school. And my first day on campus at the University of Maryland, my parents dropped me off, said, see you later, and I knew that there was a student newspaper there called the Dimeback. So my first day on campus, I walked down to the newspaper, and I said, I want a job as a sports writer. I want to get started. And I think that they really respected that drive that I came in with. A lot of guys didn't start out until they had an open session or open house for their writers to come apply for jobs, and that was weeks later. So I really got a head start on a lot of the competition by going in there and showing them that I was passionate about wanting to work for them. And I said to them, put me on anything that you want. I don't care. I'll do whatever. And I think it's really that, showing that you're a hard worker and willing to do, the grunt work that sometimes establishes yourself. So I was covering cross country and track for 2 years before I even started covering some of the bigger sports like football and basketball. And through a lot of hard work there, 4 years, I eventually became the sports editor at my college newspaper and started getting internships outside of college. I interned for USA Today. I interned for a newspaper in Pennsylvania called the Reading Eagle. I interned for another newspaper called the Journal down in Washington, D.C., and now that's turned into the Examiner. But as an intern, I wasn't getting paid anything. I was working entirely for free, and sometimes for credit, but mostly just for free. And it really was a lot of work, and I lost money on the deal, but sometimes you have to do that to get to where you want to in your career. You have to put in that work and not worry about the money early on. So I worked there for a while, and after I graduated, I made a good contact at my college. He was the former sports editor at the Washington Post named George Solomon. And that's a lesson in reaching out to people in your field, making contacts, becoming friends with them, and friends want to help you along the way. So he helped me get a job after I covered the New York Yankees for MLB.com, MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Then I called on my former teacher, George, and he got me a job at the Washington Post. And I covered high school sports at the Post for 2 years. Before I went to another high school reporting website called digitalsports.com. So I worked there for about a year before that company kind of went under. It no longer exists anymore. And I was without a job. And it was a tough part of my life. I got laid off, and I didn't know what I was going to do, if I was going to have to change careers, and if I was going to have to start over. I really didn't know. And luckily, I saw an internship here with the Baltimore Ravens and said, I thought I was done doing internships, but let's give it a shot. So I applied for it, and it wasn't even in a writing job. It was just posting stories and updating player biographies and things like that. So it really wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was with my dream organization. I grew up a Ravens fan. I always wanted to work for the Ravens. So I got my foot in the door. I got that job. And I worked here as an intern for 2 years. Before a position finally opened up. Well, one didn't actually open up. They kind of created a position for me, because after my first year I said, look, I can write, and I want to show you that I can write. And I showed them my skills in writing, and they decided that they wanted to have me do this on a full-time basis. So they created a job for me, and I got hired full-time before last season, and that meant salary and benefits and a little higher pay, so that was all good stuff. But it was a long road. It was a very long road. I'm 28 years old now, and finally got here a year ago. So it was a lot of struggle, a lot of hard work, and it really is a lesson that you can sometimes start at the very bottom and you have to work your way for a long time to get to where you want to be, and I finally am. So this is the Super Bowl trophy that the Ravens won in 2000. Hopefully a lot of you remember that as Ravens fans. I guess you'd be pretty young now. But yeah, so my typical day, I come into this lobby, I get to look at the Super Bowl trophy when I first walk in, and I arrive here about 8:30 in the morning, and go to my office that we were just in, and immediately start to edit stories. So we get a story early in the morning, and I have to look over that and find all the grammar mistakes, the spelling mistakes, all those things that I'm sure your teachers are hammering home with you guys. And I send back my revisions, and then we kind of post that story on the internet. So we use a program or a website called WordPress, and that enables us to put the stories in there and publish it to our website so that our readers can read it on BaltimoreRavens.com. And when I'm not posting stories, then generally speaking, I'm reporting. So after I post that story right in the morning, then I go down to the locker room and generally see what players are here, see if there's any guys that we need to talk to for specific stories that we're looking for. You know, there's always news of the day that needs to be reported, the latest kind of updates and things like that. So we think of a lot of these story ideas throughout the week, things that fans are asking about, whether it's, has Ray Rice gotten his contract yet? Or, you know, which player is looking really good out of all the rookies that the Ravens have? Things like that. Things that fans, we hear that they want to know. And we hear what fans want to know through a few different ways. We hear on Facebook, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are on. And they post comments to our stories and ask questions of us. And we also hear on Twitter. So fans send us messages, it's @Ravens, and we can hear kind of what they're interested in. So gauging from that, we have a conversation with them about, you know, asking them for their feedback. We kind of gauge what they're interested in, and those are the stories that we like to pursue. So after I go down there and see what players are here, we sometimes go out and watch practice because fans want to know how the players are looking at practice, and watch that, make observations from that, go into the locker room afterwards, talk to the players, we talk to the coaches, we talk to the front office people, and write our stories. So when I'm writing a story, it generally takes probably about an hour or so, and I'm including quotes from players and trying to give, you know, all the information that's pertinent. We post all this to the website. I write headlines for my stories and things like that. So it's really just mostly reporting, writing, posting to the internet. This is Matt Burke. He was the Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner last year, and we're going to be hearing from him. He's going to talk to you guys shortly. But I'm going to talk to you about what the most enjoyable part of my job is, and that's really talking to guys like Matt Burke and talking to my coworkers and kind of interacting with them. You know, there's a lot of people here, a lot of talented people here working in the NFL. To get to my job or to get to a lot of these other positions, you have to be good at what you do and you have to have a lot of drive. And that's what I like about the people who work here. Not only my coworkers, but obviously the players. There's some of the best athletes in the world. And I like just how passionate everybody is here. You know, we're all kind of working towards the same goal, and that's to win a Super Bowl. And everybody is really dedicated to that job. You know, we have fun. We have a lot of fun here. But we all share that common bond of drive, and I think that's an important thing to get you to where you want to be in your career.
Hey, E. Brookley Middle School. This is Matt Burke, center for the Baltimore Ravens, and just encouraging you on your career day to enjoy yourselves, ask a lot of questions, and as you move forward in your academic careers, study hard, read a lot, learn about as many different things as you can, try as many different things as you can, because you never know what's going to pique your interest, what you're going to end up liking. You'll never know unless you try it. So keep that in mind, and best of luck to you.
So now we're out on the practice field that the players practice on every day, and we'll talk about the less enjoyable parts. This part's beautiful, being outside. That's what I love. But the less enjoyable parts of my job is probably covering the team when it loses. And thankfully, that's kind of rare around here. I don't know about those Redskins, but around here, it's a little bit rare. So, you know, it's difficult because I work for the team. So we don't want to be too overly critical of the team because I'm one of them, you know. So when I walk through these halls and talk to the players, if they hear me or read me bashing them, you know, they're saying, what the heck? We're buddies here. We're on the same team. What are you doing? You know, But at the same time, we don't want to be giving our fans just fluff and telling them lies with our stories. We want to tell them the truth. So if the Ravens lose and, they miss a field goal at the end of the AFC Championship game, I have to write that we missed the field goal at the end of the AFC Championship game, and fans want to know why. So I have to ask pretty difficult questions to some of our players when they don't perform very well, and that can be very difficult. Those are difficult conversations to have. And sometimes, I screw up, and I write things that aren't flattering, and I hear about it from coaches or from players that aren't happy with my story. So maintaining that kind of, walking that line, I guess I should say, between working for the team and having to cover it objectively and not just be the biggest cheerleader is a difficult part of the job. And I think it's something that you guys will run into when you go into your careers. Maybe it's not working for a team and having to cover it and write negative stories, but you're going to have to answer to bosses, and you're not going to always agree with what they think. And you have to kind of adjust the way that you function and walk a line that satisfies both you and your bosses. So now we're in the Ravens weight room, and I have to kind of speak up because there's players clanging the weights behind me and the music is on. But we'll talk about some of the experiences and skills that I had before taking this job and what kind of led me into being a sports writer. And I was always a sports fan growing up. Loved sports, loved baseball in particular. And when the Ravens came to town, I became a big Ravens fan. So that was always a huge interest of mine. And I played a lot of sports growing up, but ultimately I knew that I wasn't going to be a professional player. I knew that pretty early on. And that's something that very few people achieve. So I was always very much into reading and writing. I loved writing short stories, and I did well in those subjects in school. So I enjoyed creative writing, and I enjoyed talking to people and interviewing people and getting information from people. So those are all skills that I looked at and said, well, if these are my passions, this is what I should pursue. There's a lot of other things that I could be doing that I would make more money in or things like that, but you want to do something that you love. And I love sports and I love writing, so those are two things I went down. And some of the experiences that led me into this, like I said before, is my brother was a journalist, and I read a lot of things. I read newspapers and I read magazines like Sports Illustrated. I watched ESPN, and I just kind of, those people became some of my role models. I really respected what they did. So I would look to some of the people that you respect and some of the things that you just do that don't seem like work to you. They're just fun. And try to look into those career fields and see if there's anything there for you. You'd be surprised that, if you like playing video games, there's people that develop video games. There's people who test video games. There's all kinds of things in career opportunities in places that are just fun and places that you're passionate at. So I would encourage you to explore what you love to do and try to make a job out of that. Okay, we are in the Ravens locker room now, and we're in front of Ray Lewis, Ray Rice, and Michael Orr's lockers. Three guys you guys probably know. And I'm going to talk to you about what skills I needed to get my job. As I've spoken to before, English was really a big subject throughout school that I rely on a lot now. I need to have good grammar when I write. I have to have good spelling. Even though I have an editor, it looks bad when you're spelling everything wrong. I need to be able to form complete sentences. I need to be able to write long features that really go in depth to talk about players and tell fans about their personalities. I need to be able to write quickly. Sometimes we have breaking news and I need to get a story out in 10 minutes or even quicker. My editor will say, I need this now. And so I need to be able to write under pressure. So really those English skills are something that I rely on constantly in my job. Math is something that I sometimes use, not a whole lot of. It's some kind of low-level statistics, whether I'm taking the last 3 games and calculating the average number of passing yards Joe Flacco had in a game or receiving yards that Torrey Smith had in a game. I do some of that work. It's a lot of, addition, subtracting, dividing, finding averages of things. So that's all I got for you today. I really hope that you enjoyed our tour and some of the things I had to say. And I encourage you to pursue what you're passionate about. Go into something that really drives you, that motivates you, no matter how much money you think you're going to make. It's all about enjoying what you do. And always look for new opportunities to find different interests, because those change all the time. So good luck in pursuing your career. I'm sure you guys are going to really achieve great things, and maybe I'll see you here one day.